Hello there, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great week. Okay, so this demo is mostly for graphic design students who are needing the more advanced skills, and it's for the non-graphic design students who are finding Adobe Illustrator fairly easy and are ready for more advanced skills. Okay, so this is basically the list of things that I'm going to be going through. I will seriously doubt that I'm going to get this done in half an hour, so at the half-hour mark, I am going to break, and I'll do this in 2 parts or 3 parts as needed. So the things we're going to be doing in this demo is locking layers, unlocking objects on a layer, selecting whole layers. I want to show you guys global colors, using the option key to make copies that also retain your layers. Learning how to make a logo print ready, and being print ready is pretty important. It protects your work from people messing with it, either to make it work for printing purposes or for some other application, or simply because they want to change it. So you don't want people to change your design if possible. All right, so we will be eliminating shadows, which are often used for presentation purposes. We'll be doing text on a curve. Creating outlines to eliminate that issue of font not found. We'll adjusting the text and the paths that will avoid scaling issues. Outlining strokes and using Pathfinder. We'll probably also look at compound paths. We're going to eliminate layers. Basically everything that is necessary to make the graphic stable so that it cannot be altered and that your design work maintains its integrity. Alrighty, so again, this is going to probably be at least a 2-part demo, but I'm going to go ahead and get going here. Alright, so this is my Illustrator, and I've kind of got my kind of starter point set up here so that I can use this. And for anyone who doesn't know how to make a document with more than one artboard, let me just show you super fast. File, New. You can adjust the number of artboards here, the layout that you want it to have, and the spacing between them. This is the size and the orientation of your artboards. So you can just create extra artboards here. Then you click OK. Now if you're already in a document and you want it to have an additional artboard, you can also go to your Layers and Artboards palette, open up Artboards, and you can see that I have 2 artboards here all ready to go. So you can just add new ones or you can delete them as you need to or rearrange, whatever you need to do. Anyway, it's a helpful skill to know. So that usually Artboards pops up with layers. Okay. You'll also notice that I have multiple layers on these. Okay, so there's 3 different ones I'm going to show you a few techniques on. Alright, so let's first start with my little list here. Locking layers, unlocking pieces, and unlocking. Okay, so this is the first logo I'm going to play with just so I can show you guys some different techniques. Okay, I have the text on one layer. I have the graphic on another layer. These are separate objects, and then I have this white piece on top on a 3rd layer. So I have 3 layers that are working on this. Now you may also notice that I have shadows. Now I use shadows when I'm demonstrating my logos to a client just for presentation purposes. I always like to show them with and without the shadow so that they aren't thinking the shadow is a part of the logo. It can be, but we tend to shy away from using gradients, and a shadow is a gradient. So generally we shy away from using those in a logo, but I like to show it just as a presentation format type thing. Alright, so the first thing I do want to show you how to do is how to remove that shadow. Now if you go under Window, under Appearance, you will see that the object that you have selected has these characteristics. You can simply click the one that you don't want and throw it in the trash. Okay, so I'm going to do that with all these pieces. Cancel that. Delete, and it's also on my text, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that too. Okay, so now I have my logo without any of the shadows on it. So I'm going to close that palette. I don't need to leave it open. I do leave these open, and I leave these open because it's convenient for me. I usually leave my pen tools open because no matter how much you may hate the pen tool when you first start using it, once you master it, you will love the pen tool because it really is one of the best tools to use. Alright, so that is removing my shadows. Okay, layers. Alright, so once you have layers over here, and you'll see that I have my vintage layers and my Fat Beagle layers. So this will be my vintage logo when I show you guys it. This is my Fat Beagle logo. Okay, so once you have these selected, I do want you guys to know that you guys can click on the button over here and it will select everything on that layer. Okay, so I have 2 objects on that layer. Okay, you can do that with any of them basically. You can see that in some cases I kind of lump things together, especially for demo purposes. But you can always select your layer this way. I'm guessing all of you know how to lock and unlock your layers by now, and how to make your layers visible and invisible. Okay, you should also know how to lock selections. So if you select an object, you can go to lock. You can lock that selection or that layer, all artwork above this layer. Okay, there's different techniques that you can use. This is a nice keyboard shortcut to know too, by the way. So depending on what system you're working on, it'll be, I believe, either Control 2 or it'll be Command 2. In this case, it's the Command 2 because I'm on an Apple system. All right. So do keep in mind how to lock layers and how to lock selections. All right, global colors. Okay, now I've already got a couple colors here that I have created. Now this one I've already made into a global color. I know it's a global color because it has this white triangle in the bottom. If I double click on that, I can open up my swatch options menu, and you see that the global is selected here. These are all my selections for my color. Now, if you have a global color, anything on the page that is using that global color will be affected by any change you make. Okay, so once you change a color, it's going to change everything. And because these 2 are tints of this color, it will also change those because it's a global color. Okay, so global colors are nice to work with when you're doing logos, because anytime you change the shade of blue, for instance, or green or whatever, it will change every usage of that color in your logo. So you don't have to like select each individual part if you have multiple parts. It will simply change it for everything. So global colors are helpful when you're doing logo work. It's also a slightly more advanced technique, which is a good thing to learn as you guys are getting more comfortable with Adobe Illustrator and graphic design as a whole. Alright, so I'm going to take that color back to where it was. Okay, now something else, you guys may or may not have come to swatch libraries, but there are a ton of different libraries in here using different color palettes. These are also good. Some people are better at selecting colors than others. Some people have difficulty selecting colors that don't clash or that work together on a tonal basis. So it's good to be using these swatches. Some people are very good at selecting colors, and that's great if you are. I tend to be pretty color oriented. Not everybody is. Okay, so I just got lucky on that note. Okay, something else you can do when you are selecting any color, you can also go to Color Guide. Color Guide will bring up shades and tints of different colors. So these colors all kind of work together tonally. Okay, and then you have the tints or the shades of those same colors. So this is another way of getting more color usage out of a single Pantone color, for example. Okay, all right. And of course, Apple Undo is always my favorite. All right, those are a couple color tricks. What else did I want to show you guys? Using Option to retain layers. Okay, now normally if you guys select a bunch of objects, okay, this is on 2 or 3 different layers, remember, okay, it's on my red, or some this blue, this red, and this blue layer, 2 different shades of blue, sorry, but it is on those different ones. Now normally if you guys just do a copy and a paste, it's going to put everything on the same layer, okay, now everything is on this top layer here. That may or may not be desirable for what you want. So another way to make a copy is to go ahead and select everything again using that click and drag on your regular selection tool, and then hold down the Option key and drag a copy out. Now this copy has all the same layering as the original copy. Okay, so that is another way of making a copy but retaining the layers, which is sometimes more desirable. Alright, moving along. Alright, let's make this logo print ready. So there's a couple things that we need to do to make this print ready. The first thing is to create type, or create outlines on my type. And then I'm going to handle the stroke so that the stroke is included in the main letter form. Okay, and then I will be putting everything on a single layer. I will also be cutting this moon out of the circle here, so that all of this will be a single color graphic that I can then place on any color background. All right, and I'm also going to show you compound paths on this too. Okay, so once you have your text created, okay, you're happy with the spacing and the kerning and everything is perfect. You like the weight of it, you like everything about this. Color doesn't matter yet, okay, but everything else about this is exactly what you want. So once you have that, now right now it's still a type, so you can change your kerning and everything as you need to. Right now it's still a type, as you can see, but once I'm happy with it, I go up to type and I go to create outlines. Okay, this is no longer type at this stage. I can no longer adjust it over here. You saw that it used to be a lithos, now it has Arial here because I don't have any type selected. What I have is a series of 6 objects with a stroke still that happen to look like type, but these are objects now. These are no longer type, so you can no longer edit them as type. Okay, so you don't want to do this step of create outlines right here until you're absolutely finished with your font. Okay, but once you are finished manipulating your type here, you do want to do this because otherwise when someone else loads this on their system, if they don't have the exact same font as you, this is the warning that they're going to get. And if they don't have whatever the font is on that particular graphic, then it's going to open it up with some substituted font, which I can pretty much guarantee is not going to look the same, nor have the same spacing and everything else that you want on your graphic. So it's your responsibility to always make sure that you do this step before submitting a graphic to a client or to a print shop. Okay. Now it is fine and it is recommended to let a client know what the font is that you are using on your graphic. And we'll be doing that as part of your final portfolio project this term. Okay, but you don't want to leave it as a font in the logo. You want to make sure that you do the step of create outlines to eliminate this problem. Okay, and also, you guys may or may not know this, but when I see your files as PDF files, they don't always look exactly the way that you think they will. Now, I've kind of learned the way that things get shifted on a PDF file. I've learned how fonts can sometimes get shifted, things like that. So I kind of work around it, and it's okay. But for you to send something like that to a client, if it doesn't look the way you intend it to, your client may or may not like it. So you want to make sure that you're on the same page with your client and that they are seeing exactly what you intend for them to see. So it's another good reason to do this and to know how to do it. Okay, and you cannot undo it, by the way, so just keep that in mind. All right, so once you have done type, create outlines again. Okay, it's not highlighted now because I don't have any type selected. Okay, but if I had type selected, such as this, then it would be available. Okay, I'm not going to do it right now though. All right, so now I have objects that happen to look like type. My next step is to eliminate that stroke, okay, but still retain this weight of letter or this weight on the object. Okay, so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to keep all of this selected. I'm going to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. Okay, now what I have right now is the fill of each one of these objects and the stroke of each one of these objects. And they happen to be overlapping right now. Now, if I ungroup this, I can separate these things out. Okay, now I have the outline or the stroke, but it is now a solid object. You can see over here, this is a solid object. This is also a solid object. Notice there's no fill on it anymore. Okay, and that's true about all of these. Okay, so now I have two solid objects, what used to be the stroke and what used to be the fill. Now I have two solid objects that overlap each other. Now I want these combined as a single object because that's the look that I want on my text. So I'm going to go ahead and move that back. I'm going to select all these parts, so there's 12 different parts, what used to be the fills and what used to be the strokes. I selected all of those. I'm going to go to my Pathfinder tool and I'm going to click on Unite. Unite will simply combine those two solid objects for each letter form and create it into a single solid object. Alright, so now you can see I can click on this. It's a group of objects, but you notice I have a solid fill and they have no stroke on them. But it maintained the weight on this object that I originally wanted, because that's what I want for my logo. All right, now once I do this, I don't have to worry about someone coming along and adjusting the weight of the stroke on this object. I don't have to worry about someone maybe accidentally clicking a different color for the stroke than what I intended. I don't have to worry about any of those issues. And as the designer, it's my responsibility to make sure I do this. I don't want someone else messing with my work. One, it can alter it to ways that is not desirable. Two, it's my responsibility. It's not the print shop's responsibility, nor is it my client's responsibility. They have paid me to do this job, so I need to take care of this. Okay, and you guys will need to do the same. All right, so I'm happy with this. It's a solid object. You can leave these grouped or ungrouped. I'm going to go ahead and group them. I want to keep them all together. Now I'm ready to look at these. Okay, so now this has no stroke, so I'm okay on that. This has no stroke either. Now this is a separate object. I want to go ahead and take these two objects and cut the moon shape into this circular shape. And this is simply using my Pathfinder tools. Okay, so there's a few different ways you can do it, and I do encourage you guys to use these tools a lot. Experiment with them, learn how they work, and use them. They're really wonderful tools. I would say Pathfinder is only second to your pen tool. They're really, really powerful. Okay, so the one I'm going to use is divide. Okay, so what this has done is it's created one object out of this black circle with this shape cut out of it, and then this shape is a separate object. Okay, I'm going to ungroup those. Okay, I use the keyboard shortcut for ungroup. But you can also just come up here to object and ungroup your objects. Okay, now I'm going to select this part and I'm going to delete it because I don't need it. Okay, it's a white shape. I can also color it something else, but it's a white shape. I don't need it. Okay, so I'm going to delete it. Now it looks the same, but what this really is now is this shape has been cut into this shape. It's almost like a cookie cutter effect. And I can demonstrate that by grabbing this and whoops, put that on the back layer. Come on, brain. There we go. Okay, so you can see that it's now cut through. Okay. Okay. So now that's another step towards making this print ready. So now my entire logo is simply made of one black shape, two black shapes, and this set of black shapes. Okay, so nothing has a stroke on it anymore. Everything has been cut through so that I simply have simple shapes. And now anytime my client wants to see what this looks like in another color, it's a piece of cake to do that. Okay, I don't have to manipulate it all that much. All right. So you can see how quick and easy that makes it. Ideally, for a client in a print shop, this is what they have at the end. So that if they need a monochromatic logo in whatever color, this is how easy it is for them to get. Okay, if this has a whole lot of strokes on it, it has a whole lot of details, it has shadows, it has all these other issues with it, it makes it a whole lot harder. And quite frankly, a lot of print shops just won't do it. They will contact you to fix it anyway, or maybe they'll try and fix it for you, but I bet it won't be to your standards. So it is to your advantage to do this for them. Okay. All right, I'm going to show you, let me make sure I did everything there. Okay, we did that. Okay, I'm going to answer my daughter's question here. She better be quick. Hi. Did you have a question, love? No. Okay. All right. So let's see here. We did this. We did this. And we did this. Okay, so we've done all that. So now 7, 8, and 9. We talked about that. I'm going to make this a compound path. And I'm going to show you how to apply a gradient. Now this is a cosmetics company. And for those of you who have seen cosmetics, use cosmetics, etc., you may know that a lot of cosmetic companies will often use their logo on a black or white case, for instance, and they will use a metallic paint, or metallic ink, rather, for that product line. So for a company such as a cosmetics line, sometimes you may want to show them what this may look like as a metallic. And if you guys haven't discovered metallics yet, they're actually pretty fun to play with. They don't work for everything, obviously. They add a lot of detail. But for something like a cosmetics company, or maybe it's like a luxury clothing company, something like that, a lot of luxury companies, it's a nice thing to kind of play with. So you can go to Swatch Libraries, go down to Gradients, There's a whole bunch in here, but the one that I want you guys to see is called metals. Okay, and under metals, you'll see you have all these different looks. Now, if I were simply to say, okay, I want this to be a gold gradient, for instance, then you can do that. And you can see how there's a separate gradient on each individual letter or letter form and on each individual object. Now, this doesn't look nearly as nice as it could look. So what I'm going to do before I hit that gradient, I'm going to take all these objects. I'm going to go to Object, Compound Path, Make. Now this is a single object. It's treated as a single object. Everything is locked into position. And any gradient that I apply will now be applied across the entire object, not just each individual part. So you'll see the difference here. Okay, that'll make quite a bit of difference, right? So you can also come over here and you can put it at an angle, for instance. I mean, you kind of have to play with how this is going to look. And some of these gradients look a whole lot better than others. And it also depends on the background color that you're putting this on. If I were to show this to a client, I would probably put the gold gradient on a black background. It's a pretty common kind of look for a cosmetics company. So I'm going to fill that back in with black. You can see I kind of shortcutted this for myself because I knew this was going to come up. Okay. And go ahead and put these in. So I'm pretty fussy about how I present to clients. Okay, if I want to make a buck, I want to make sure I'm doing it the right way. Pretty much. Everyone has their picky notes. This is mine. Okay, so I'm going to make that like that. I'm going to make a copy of this. Okay, and since it's a compound path, it's a much easier copy now. But I'm going to make that a little smaller. Let's try about 70%. Let's see how that works. I'm going to bring one here. Do another one here. And again, I'm picky, so I grab both of those and I make sure they're aligned. Okay, they weren't quite. Okay, I'm picky, I admit it. Helps me make money. It's a good thing. Okay, so this one I'm simply going to put in white so that they see what it could look like in that look. Okay. This logo, can't see it right now, but it's there, is the one I'm going to apply a gradient to. May actually do brass. That one looks kind of cool. Actually, I like that one a lot. Alright, so this gives the client an idea of what this monochromatic logo would look like in black on white. And obviously I would take this part out. Black on white, this kind of metallic on black, similar to what it might look like in a on a cosmetic case, and white on really any color. In this case I happen to use this kind of tealy color. I often will also get a product shot online. You can find a lot of free stock photos, which gives you like a blank t-shirt or a blank coffee mug, a blank shopping tote, blank cosmetic cases, blank makeup handles, things like that. And then once you have those types of images, you can place your logo on top of that coffee mug or that t-shirt or whatnot, and allow yourself to give them kind of a visual representation of what their logo would look like in different scenarios. All right, so that alarm was telling me that I am approaching the 30-minute mark. So I am going to pause here and I will pick up with part 2 of this logo kind of advanced demonstration. All right, see you in a